Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's special guest is Axel, big and gigantic as ever. I have the store open, so if you see them walking back and forth, just please ignore it. Also, I am in my pajama pants. Please also ignore that. But today I wanted to do a little video on wedding planning tips. I had a couple people ask me about this on my video last week. Messaged me on Instagram and did it in my little question box. They wanted some wedding planning tips. There are quite a few people I know that are newly engaged and getting married like next year or the year after. So I wanted to go ahead and do this video. So I want to preface this by saying that our wedding was absolutely perfect in every way. Like everything that we wanted came to life and it was absolutely perfect, and I could not be more thankful for that. So I want to say that, and I am not an expert by any means, but this is just what worked for me, this is what worked for us, and this is what helped us have our absolute dream wedding. It was literally everything I could have ever asked for plus some, and I could not be more thankful for that. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So for my first tip, I know this probably sounds crazy to some people, but this is what I did, and it literally helped me be so much less stressed when the time came to actually start planning for the wedding. So obviously me and Jonathan had been together for a little while. I knew that at some point we were gonna get married, and I kind of had an idea that we were gonna get engaged around the time that we did. Obviously I didn't know the exact date or anything like that, but I kind of knew that it was coming. And if you're anything like me, if you are like a super planner type A personality, you have to have a plan for everything. So I started before we were even engaged, and I know some people are like, oh, well, you just probably jinxed yourself and all this stuff, but like I knew it was coming. I feel like a lot of times you know when you're about to get engaged, you know when you're gonna get married to somebody. So I started planning and I used a spreadsheet off of Google Docs. It looks just like this. I kind of tweaked mine a little bit to fit kind of what I needed, but this is free as long as you just have like a Google account. You can go in and it lists everything that you could literally ever think of. So I went through and I used this spreadsheet, and I basically went through and found vendors that I thought that I might be interested in. I went ahead and like put down their names of the venue or the vendor or whatever the case may be, put down their contact info, if they had any pricing or anything on their website. I went ahead and put that on there. I also put in notes like how many people it could hold, how far away it was from our house, things like that, so that when the time came to actually pick vendors, I already had my list of people that I was interested in, all the things I needed to know, and then I could just either go tour or ask more questions, whatever the case may be. And that literally saved my life because I wasn't stressing like the week after we got engaged to figure out who I wanted or anything like that. So I would definitely say start planning early, even before you're engaged if at all possible, just because it saved me so much time and so much headache to not be stressed about, oh, we just got engaged, I have to do all this stuff. Like, it just helped me so much. So with that, I would say figure out what you need in a venue or a vendor or whatever that may be. Do you care the most about the venue? Do you care the most about where it is, what it looks like, how many people it can hold, or is that not that important to you? As far as like photographers and things go, do you care more about how many pictures you get back or how good they are? Like, are you more quality versus quantity? Kind of what do you want in a photographer? Do you want someone local? Do you want someone, if you're having a destination wedding or you're going somewhere, do you want someone where you're from to go there, or do you just want to get somebody from there? As far as like turnaround time, do you want your pictures back in like 3 weeks, or are you okay with waiting a couple months to get even more pictures and even more quality back? Things like that take into consideration whenever picking your vendors, or even just picking your list of vendors that you might be interested in. And then along with that, I would say determine your most important vendors. So for me personally, my most important vendor was our photographer and videographer. That is the one thing I cared the most about. And the reason for that is because in my mind, your photography and your video are what are capturing your entire day, and it is the only thing that you will have left the day after your wedding. So in 50 years, I'm not gonna remember what the centerpieces looked like, probably not gonna care too much about how big our venue was, but I am gonna have those pictures to look back on, and I want them to be good, and I wanna make sure that they encompass our entire day well, so that when I'm old and can barely remember, I can look back at those and remember it perfectly. So that was the most important thing for me. So once you determine what your most important vendors are, whether that be photography, whether that be your venue, whether that be a shuttle service or something like that, or your caterer, no matter what you choose as your most important, I would say spend the most time researching those vendors, because if that's the most important thing to you, you want to make sure that you have multiple options, just in case, for instance, the #1 pick is already booked on the day that you want. Excuse you, bud. I know. Say hello to the camera. You're kind of in the way. Can you go sit down? Good boy. So I would spend the most time on the vendors that you care about the most, because obviously if DJ is like last on your list, you don't care if you even have music, then why would you spend multiple days researching multiple DJs, things like that. If you don't care what it is, you can find somebody for 50 bucks and that's fine with you, then don't spend hours and hours on end looking for a DJ. So that's just what I did. Honestly, the photographer was the most important to us, and I already knew who I wanted it to be. I didn't even make a list of potential photographers, to be honest, because we actually picked our wedding date based on our photographer's availability, and I stand by the decision 100% because like I said, that was the most important to us. So I don't regret that at all. A lot of people think I did it backwards by not picking a venue first, but to be honest, I didn't care that much about the venue, and honestly it worked out perfectly either way. We got all the pictures that we knew that we wanted. They are amazing. They are just so great, and I literally cry every time I think about it. So I don't regret that decision at all, but just do what makes you happy. It is your wedding after all. Like I said, I would just determine your most important vendors and spend the most time researching those, and then go down the list from there. Next, I would say once you have determined your vendors, or maybe even before, especially in regards to your venue, make a tentative guest list. Obviously, if you're not getting married for a year from now, like that guest list is most likely gonna change. You're gonna take some people off, put some people on, but just a tentative guest list, like this is probably gonna be our max number. Obviously, a lot of times some people don't come, things like that. We had, I think on our original guest list, we had like 180 people, and then we ended up taking some off, putting some back on, things like that. And I think at our wedding, we ended up with about 140 people. So make a tentative guest list, and I say that because not only do you need to know kind of what you're expecting as far as catering and stuff like that, but you need to make sure that you have a venue that is big enough to hold everyone. So when we made our original guest list, like I said, I think there was like 180, and then we got it down to like 160-ish, and there was a venue that we looked at and its max capacity was 150. So obviously we knew that not everyone was gonna come, but on the off chance that they did, that venue would not have worked because we would have been over capacity easily. So make sure that you have a guest list, you know about how many people, and if you think that you're forgetting people, you can always add like 10, add 20, something like that, to make sure that you're covering all your bases. And then make sure that the venues that you are touring are able to hold that many people, because it would suck to find the perfect venue and go look at a venue that you absolutely love and then realize we can't fit everybody here just on the off chance that they all come. That would be super disappointing. So know that ahead of time about how many people you think will be there. Include people that you may not necessarily invite at the end, but you think that you might. Add everyone in there, and then you can always adjust later and do less, especially if you find a venue that you super love, but their max capacity is like 20 less than your guest list. You can always make it work, but it's just better to go into it knowing, like, if you think you're gonna have 150 people, don't tour a venue that's only gonna hold 75. So yeah, make a tentative guest list. It will change your life. Me and Jonathan made our tentative guest list, I want to say like a week after we got engaged. And again, probably sounds crazy to some people, but it really helped me out a lot when searching for a venue, because we didn't look at places that weren't gonna hold enough people. So it just made it a lot easier to narrow down our options and figure out where we actually wanted to go see, things like that. Next thing, when it comes to making a registry, planning for like a housewarming shower, bridal shower, whatever you are having. We personally had a housewarming shower because we had just bought our house, just moved in, so that was just the easiest for us because we didn't have anything. So we had a housewarming shower, and then of course we still had it through our wedding. But I used the Knot registry. I actually made a video to that. I will link it down below about what I put on a registry and kind of how to use it. A lot of people like to do things like Amazon or Bed Bath & Beyond or Target, and those are all great, but on the Knot you can actually put anywhere. Like you can put things from anywhere. You basically just add a thing to your browser and then you go search for it, and then you can add it to there. And you also have a thing where it can automatically ship to you if people don't want to ship it to themselves and then bring it. If they just want to ship it directly to you, they can do that. They also have like cash funds, and it deposits directly into your account, so it's super easy. You literally just put in your bank information and it deposits right in there. Whenever people put stuff in your cash funds, and you can have more than one, you can literally have as many as you want. You can put different names on them, things like that. So I really enjoyed using the Knot. Like I said, you can literally put stuff from any website and then it's all in one place. You don't have to say, oh well, we're registered on Amazon and at Target and at Bed Bath & Beyond and Walmart. You can literally just send out the link to everybody. We put it on our shower invitations. We also put it on our wedding invitations, and you can just have everything in one place. It also keeps track of what you got. It keeps track of who bought it for you, so that you can easily send out thank you cards and keep up with it like that. For that reason, I really enjoyed the Knot. Our guests didn't seem to have any issues with it. Like I said, everything is in one place. It made it super easy to keep up with. It was super easy to use for me and for our guests. So all around 10 out of 10 experience. I highly recommend using the knot instead of going to multiple different places, unless that's just your thing. Again, this is your wedding, completely up to you, but this is what I found to be easiest for me. A lot of my wedding was DIY, so my mom did literally all the DIY stuff, but don't be afraid to delegate stuff to other people, because you cannot do this crap alone. Like, as much as you're gonna want to, like, you need to find someone, whether it's your mom, whether it's your best friend, whether it's somebody you work with that's not that close to the situation, whatever you prefer, make sure you have someone that you can call and be like, hey, can you do this? Like, one of my bridesmaids, I was like, hey, I literally had her stop the day before the wedding and get film for our guest book because I didn't have time and I just didn't want to bother with it. I was like, can you please do this? Like, don't be afraid to do that. I was like, obviously I'll pay you back, but can you just go get it? I don't have time. And she was like, yes, of course I can do that. And so a lot of times people think if they're asking for help, like, people aren't gonna do it or whatever. Delegate, delegate, delegate. Do not do it all yourself. Even if it's small things like what I just said, going to get film. As far as like picking up things for the reception or picking up the cake or making sure that such and such has his suit fitted, like whatever it is, make sure you have people in place that can help you, because when it comes down to like the week before the wedding, you're gonna be so frazzled and you're gonna remember all these things that you didn't do, and you're gonna need someone there to help you do it. So make sure you have a helping hand, no matter who it is. Just make sure that they are obviously reliable, because you don't want a helping hand that's just gonna kind of leave you hanging and make it harder on you. Make sure you have a helping hand that is responsible, and do not be afraid to delegate stuff. That is like my #1 tip for planning. Do not be afraid to put the load off on other people and not do it all by yourself, because that's literally impossible. Like, it makes it so hard. So just don't do that, okay? And then for my last tip, this is pretty much just for like setup of your wedding day. If you don't hire like a decorator or something like that, if you're setting up your reception space and your ceremony space on your own, whether it's you by yourself or family members or whatever, I would recommend, especially for us, because like I said, everything that I had pretty much was like DIY stuff or that we were bringing on our own. There were a couple decorations that our venue already had, but for the most part, we brought everything. So put everything in boxes, like with stuff that it goes with. So I don't know if you have watched Jamie Wolfer's videos, but if you have, she has a video where she says to like take a picture of what you want the centerpiece to look like if you're not the one setting it up, and then put it in the box with all the pieces that are needed to make that centerpiece happen. I didn't necessarily do that because my mom was the one setting them up, and we just had like close friends doing it, and to be honest, I didn't really care what the centerpieces look like. But if you are going to be super particular about that, if that is one of the really important things for you is what the centerpieces look like, I strongly suggest putting everything in a box together and then setting it to the side and label it. So for example, if not all your centerpieces are the same, just say for table 2, this is what you want the centerpieces to look like. Put all the stuff for table 2 centerpiece in a box, put it away, and label it table 2 centerpiece. Like, put exactly what it is. And then as far as like if you don't have a caterer, which we didn't, we had family that cooked the food for us, but we had to take like cooking utensils and things like that for like the side dishes. We also had to take like little trays to put everything in. Put all that in a box together and put like exactly what it is, but that it needs to go to the kitchen or whatever. And then we also had like a box for like my ring and Jonathan's ring and all the boutonnieres, all the corsages, things like that. Put those all together so that they're not all just here, there, and everywhere. And then whenever you get to your venue, look at what things are and put them where they need to go. So for example, the box that needed to go to the kitchen, or the box that needed to go to the reception space for centerpieces, or here is our snacks and our drinks for the bride's room, snacks and drinks for the groom's room, all the rings, boutonnieres, things like that together. We're gonna put those in the bride's room so that nobody messes with them. Everything for hair, like hair pieces, any bobby pins that you're bringing, if your hair person is not bringing those themselves, put all that in a box together, put it in the bride get ready room, things like that. Just make sure that you label everything and put what room it needs to go in so that that's where it goes, and then you can find it much easier than if everything is just kind of thrown in a box and taken. So those are what I think are the most important wedding planning tips, at least they were for me. Again, this is just what worked for us in our wedding. We had a flawless wedding and I cannot stop raving about it because it really was just perfect. So I hope that these helped you. If you have any other wedding planning tips that worked for you that I didn't mention, leave them in the comments down below, as well as any other wedding videos that you would like to see post-wedding. I have a couple other things planned, like things that we are so glad we spent money on, things that we're glad we did. I also have like a wedding day necessities and tips thing that I'm gonna do. But if you have any other post-wedding videos that you would like to see, leave them down in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.